Human beings should not live the way those people are living on the banks of the Mekong in Cambodia. This blatant immorality and tragedy, the history, you know, it's so you know, I tell people we feel like we're living on the brink of hell. We started going into these slums, these Vietnamese slums, and just what we call trudging through the sludge. Places where during the rainy season the water would rise and all the filth from the river and the trash on the side of the bank and the refuge would rise up, and some of the people actually living over like a swamp of garbage and sewage. The families have become so desperate that they actually sell their young girls into prostitution. The going price for a young virgin is about $400. They'll be expected to serve as 12 to 15 men. It is so gross and so bad that even some of the stories, of course, I can't even tell. They are open to the gospel, but just no one, who's gonna go into these hellholes and tell them about Christ, you know? Many of the people have just lost spirit, and they don't care anymore. They dump the garbage out. Well, there's no garbage disposal system, so they just dump the garbage out on the bank of the river. They do everything in the river, you know. The children swim on one side, they wash the dishes on the other side, they go to the bathroom on the other side, they dip the water on the other side of the house and put a little alum in it, and the sediment goes to the bottom and they drink the water out of the top. But here they live in that house and use the water all around the house for everything they need. And it's filthy. It's just filthy. Even on the bank, they're not. The Vietnamese people usually have a lot of pride and they're very clean. We worked with them in Vietnam and we admire them. As I said, they're very industrious. But some of the ones now living in Cambodia have just lost this self-respect and pride, and it's very, very sad. However, when we go in and preach the gospel, there's a new spark. And what's happened is, with the preaching of the gospel and the forming of churches, there's also a social lifting that's happened. And the people care more about their whole lives, and they have something to live for. So that's an exciting thing for us to see. People who were so almost at the point of despair to be revived in their love of life as well as their love of the Lord. It's a situation that is so desperate that you know that you're needed. It's not as though you go to a place and say, well, I don't know if I can find work here or not. I want to help people, but we're there. As soon as you get there, you know that you're needed, you're desperately needed. And so it gives you a sense of, yeah, this is why God has placed us here. There's no question. We know why we're living here. As soon as we started speaking Vietnamese in these squatter settlements, the people responded to us. The little children would hold on to us and they would say, oh, we're so glad you're here. Tại sao ông bà nói tiếng Việt Nam? Why do you speak Vietnamese? And we could tell them we had been in their country and all. It was a wonderful opening for us. We walked through the village and the people said, please help us, please help us. And this is the village I was just telling you about, this squatter settlement, where we started the first church. And this lady said, you're a Tin Lan person, you're a Jesus person. She used the word Jesus in English. And she said, will you go to that house over there And I said, sure, we'll go over there. We went to the house. We climbed up to the second level of this wooden, very rickety, shaky house. And here was a whole family lying on the floor. They were all dying of AIDS, a man and his wife and two little kids. And so we talked to them. We invited them to our church, and the man and his wife became Christians. But then the word spread through the village. Well, the Tinlan people, Tinlan means gospel, Tin means news, and Lun means good. So the good news people love people with AIDS. And this was, no one else loved people with AIDS. Newhope Ministries was born in the desperation of the Vietnamese squatter settlement. And our hearts were changed during that time. I thought we cared for people before, but in this situation, we really asked God to enlarge our hearts and to deepen our understanding of what compassion is. Because we had worked as missionaries, but normally among middle-class people. And we had never been called on to work with the poorest of the poor. Now God was stretching us, and but at the same time giving us a love for these people. It's very emotionally draining to work in Cambodia. It's spiritually draining. It's physically taxing to carry on certain ministries with poor people, with child prostitutes, with patients dying of AIDS. You can just imagine. So we have become very physically exhausted at times and emotionally exhausted. And what kept us going many times was to know that people in our home church and in other churches in the CMA are praying for us. They know that Rick and Beth are tired. They know that we're at the end of ourselves. And they will write that in an email and say, we're really standing with you because this is a difficult time. So I just would encourage our Alliance people to keep praying. We can't do it without you.